Well, good morning, everyone. Barada pawb. Croeso hynnes I chi I gyd. Warm welcome to you all. It's wonderful to be here for our family service today, and it's great to have youngsters here as well. There's a sense of expectation. You can see we've got our puppets here ready to help us with our story later. And dwi'n edrych ymlaen I weld Pipedi a bore yma. Bydden nhw helpu ni yn deall y stori Daniel yn well. So they'll help us to understand the story of Daniel better. Well, I'm going to start with a prayer, and then we're going to sing our first hymn. So, loving Father, thank you so much for bringing us to church this morning. Thank you that we've got lots to look forward to in our service. So please help us to draw closer to you. Help us to listen, to sing, to have fun, and to come away from church this morning knowing you better. For we ask in Jesus' name. Amen. Well, the first song, all the songs you need are on this sheet. So that's all you need today. We haven't got a prayer book or anything today. And this song was one I understand you did one of the Sundays when you were in the hall, when the heating wasn't working, and that went really well. And Sandra especially wanted to share it this morning. But it's one that I really like too, because it's all about how wonderful Jesus' love is, because he loves each one of us so much, and that's so special. So Elonwy's going to play it through first, so the verse and the chorus, so that we can hear the tune, and then we'll stand and sing it. If you know it, please belt it out nice and loud so that everybody else can follow on as well. So it's the first one on the sheet. I stand amazed in the presence of Jesus the Nazarene. Let's stand and sing. I stand amazed in the presence of Jesus the Nazarene, and wonder how he loved me, a sinner condemned and clean. How marvelous, how wonderful, and my song shall ever be. It's like a shaker. In the garden, he prayed not my will but thine. He handed his for his offering, and sweat drops of blood for mine. How marvelous, how wonderful, and my song shall ever be. He servant died alone. How marvelous, how wonderful, and my song shall ever be. How marvelous, how wonderful is my Saviour's love for me. When with ransomed in glory, His face I at last shall see. 'Twill be my joy through the ages to sing of His love for me. How marvelous, how wonderful, and my song shall ever be. How marvelous, how wonderful is my Saviour's love for me. Well, do sit down. Oh, what a great song with a fabulous message. How wonderful is Jesus' love for each of us. Now, I've brought some things along to church this morning. I wonder if you can guess what they've got in common. Now, I brought a packet of tea bags. These are my favourite ones. These are Tradecraft Fair Trade breakfast blend tea bags. These are, you can't buy them anymore because Tradecraft went out of business. I bought a big box just at the end, so I'm working my way through them. There's my favourite tea bags. I've got a jar of marmalade. Do you not like marmalade? I had a yuck then. Oh, I love marmalade. I make marmalade, but my marmalade has run out now because I've eaten it all up so quickly. The Seville oranges aren't in season yet. And I brought a sign. And have slow. It's what we see on our roads, isn't it? So what have these three things got in common, do you think? Anybody got a guess? What do you think?
Take time to eat your breakfast.
Take time to eat your breakfast. That's really clever. That's not it, but that's great. I wish I'd thought of that. Breakfast, the best meal of the day. Anybody else got a guess? What have they got in common? It's a strange collection, isn't it?
You have to brew tea. You have to wait for the oranges to
You have to brew tea, you have to wait for the oranges to cook, and they do take ages. They bubble on the stove for forever, and then when you're waiting for them to get to temperature. But that's not it. That's not it. Simmer? No, that's not it. Good guesses, though. Shall I put you out of your misery? Please, please. We do want to get home today. These are all things that I miss when I travel abroad. I miss my cup of tea in the morning because it's awful hard to find tea abroad. I remember trying to get tea with milk in Disneyland's Paris. That was just a disaster. And marmalade, they don't really do marmalade abroad in the same way, do they? And of course, I miss seeing our road signs with the Welsh on. It's a bit strange when you go somewhere else, isn't it? Though in Greece, it's handy that I've got a bit of biblical Greek to read the road signs first, so at least I know where we're going. But that's what I miss when I go on holiday. And we all miss things when we go on holiday. Now, I've got here a chart, and on this chart, I don't think the chart's going to stay up. Right. There we are. You can always guarantee something's going to go wonky, can't you? Right. Is that leg going to stay? Otherwise, I might need a glamorous assistant to just come and hold it. Here, I have got the foods that Brits abroad miss, the top 10. And we're going to do a bit of a family fortunes this morning to see if we can find out which side of the church can guess the most. And this is how we're going to play it. I'm going to keep my eye out, and I'm the only one at the front. Oh no, we've got Sandra there. You can help me, Sandra. And we're going to see the first hand to go up gets the first guess. If you get the number 1 right, then your side of the church has got control of the board, right? So you can shout out answers until you get one wrong. When you get one wrong, it passes over to the other side, and then you get some guesses, and we'll see which side is the best one. So these are the top 10 foods that Brits abroad miss? All right, now I've not said go yet, Chris. I like keen, right? But when I say go, I'm going to watch for those hands going up, okay? So, 1, 2, oh, I've not said 3 yet. I'm ready, I'm poised. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Oh, well, I think yours went up a bit. I think yours was a false start. So I think we'll still pick this side. I think we'll go with you. Cup of tea. Let me check. You are quite right. I am not the only Brit who misses tea abroad. So this side of the church gets first go. So who'd like to pick? Put your hand up all the same. What else are we going to have? Oh, that's not on our board, so that goes over to this side. What foods do you think should be on here, Chris? Baked beans. Yeah. Who's seen the advert of the bloke who cries because his suitcase has been lost and he's filled it with baked beans? And he's sitting at the pool sobbing. And that's a bit extreme, isn't it? You can usually buy them. You've just got to pay about €5 for a tin. There we are. Baked beans is number 3, right? So we're still on this side. You better keep this because this is. Can you keep these? Because then we'll know how many your side has got. Right. Somebody else on this side who'd like to have another guess? Put your hand up. Yep. Marmite. Oh, do you know? There you go. Number 10. Oh, I think that was that side. That was your side. Oh yeah, you've got that one, right? What's on this side? Until they get one wrong, then we'll come to you when they've got one wrong, right? This side, another one. Porridge. Oh, I love porridge in the morning, but porridge is not on the list. So let's have your guess. Fish and chips. Do you know, interestingly, that's not on the list. You'd think it would be. I love fish and chips, especially at the beach. So it goes back to this side. Roast dinner. Not on this list. It wasn't one of the other lists. Cadbury's chocolate. That is there. That's at number 9. That low, yeah, that low. You'll be really surprised at number 2, I tell you. Somebody else on this side. No, not cereal. Oh, actually, be more specific. There is cereal. Cornflakes. Oh, close shave there. Somebody else this side. Not marmalade. This side, you've got one? Who's got one? What would you think? Toast. Toast isn't on there. I'll give one more guess. Why do you have a guess? Ketchup. Oh, another one this side, and then we'll go back to you if they get it wrong.
Sausages.
What was yours? Well, we'll come back to that. Oh, right. We've got a little hand at the back. You're so keen. What was yours? Frosties. Oh, well, I think that comes under cornflakes because they're cornflakes with sugar on, aren't they? So shall I? Oh. Who switched the mic off? I've never had to switch it on there. It's always been on for me. Who didn't do their job this morning? Right. Go on, let's have one more each side. Sausages. Chocolate biscuits. Oh, well, biscuits is on there. Biscuits is in at number 5. And I'll show you the other ones, because sausages is there. Sausages is number 6. We won't... Well, we'll do it backwards. Number 8. Crisps in normal flavours. You can't get like vinegar, can you, and things. It's like paprika. And I even saw grown-ups that they had cannabis flavoured crisps. Why would you do that? Bizarre. Gravy. So whoever said roast dinner, the gravy. But number 2, I was really surprised. I know. Crumpets. Who knew? What's crumpets? Well, there we are. There's a case in point. Crumpets are like are like round. We can get them teddy bear shapes or heart shapes or Christmas tree shapes, but they're usually round, and they're like a bread with kind of holes in that you put in the toaster. So there you go. A bread with holes in, kind of. So there we are. So those are things that we might miss when we go abroad, and maybe you've got other things that you might miss when you go abroad that's not on that list like I had. And today we're going to think about a man called Daniel, who he ended up living a long, long way away from home. The year was about 600 BC, and King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon had taken over the city of Jerusalem, and he carried away all of the young men who were strong and healthy and clever to work in his kingdom. And one of these young men was a man called Daniel. And Daniel was fit, healthy, strong, bright, and he was from a really, really good family. And so they took Daniel to go and work in the king's palace. And it was really hard for Daniel because lots of things were different. You know, they gave Daniel a new name. He wasn't called Daniel anymore. Now when anybody called for him, he was to be called Belteshazzar. Yeah, I'm sure that's exactly what Daniel thought about his new name. He had to learn a new language. He had to read books and poems in the new language. And worst of all, they didn't worship the gods of heaven and earth that Daniel worshipped. They worshipped a whole lot of different gods. And one of them, Daniel, had in his name. So every time his name was called, it was like they were calling one of the other gods. He must have missed home really, really badly. But Daniel was a man who loved God. And so he stayed faithful. He wouldn't eat the food that was there at the king's table that he was allowed to eat because it had been offered to some of these gods. And he made sure he prayed to God, not once a day, not twice a day, but 3 times every day he prayed to God. And God really blessed him. He did well in his job. He went up in the ranks and he was able to do wonderful things because God was with him. Once when the king had a dream, Daniel was able to tell him what the dream meant. Brilliant. But when we get successful, sometimes other people don't like it very much. And Daniel made some enemies. And these enemies wanted to get rid of Daniel. And so they plotted and they hatched a plan. They thought, well, if we can make the king make a law that will mean Daniel gets thrown into the den of lions and be killed, then we'll have got rid of him forever. And so they plotted and they schemed and they persuaded the king to make a law that if anybody prayed to anybody or anything apart from the king, then they would be thrown into the pit of lions. And it was written down in the law of the Medes and the Persians, a law that can never, ever be changed or taken away. Well, Daniel kept on trusting God. And he prayed 3 times every day. While the people who didn't like him watched. And when they saw that he was praying, they ran to the king and they told the king what they had seen. And the king had no choice but to do the punishment that he had said he would do in the law that was written in the law of the Medes and the Persians. And we're going to find out what happens next, because our puppets are going to help us with the story. So I'm going to hand over to our puppets and we'll see what happens next in the story.
Thank you for inviting us to your family service. I wonder if I ask 2 questions, can I have a show of hands? I've never done it before, all right, so the first. How many have not seen us as a puppet presentation? Let's have a show of hands if you haven't seen. Okay, my next question is directed to you, all right? Not to everybody else who hasn't put their hand up. But how did we come by our name? Our name is Steppa. But how do you get to Steppa? And your hand went up. It's puppets backwards. By a hand that was showing. It's puppets backwards. And it was my wife who decided that that's what it would be. A long time ago, we discovered that by our first birth, we needed things changed around. And it's a wonderful thing to be able to acknowledge that Daniel's God is the one who changes things around. We hope you enjoy it. When we start, we can't see you, okay? So if you can't hear, come further forward, because we can't turn it up once we start, okay? And if you can't see, you wouldn't sit in front of the flower pot at home watching the telly, would you? You'd either move the flower pot or move. So, if you can't see, please move.
We've been there, haven't we?
The king signs a law that no one can ignore unless you want to hear the lions roar. Daniel was a great wise man. The king chose him as his helping hand. 3 times a day he always prayed. With faith in God he was never afraid. The kings, all the helpers, didn't like what they saw. They tricked the king to make a bad law. But praying to God had to stop, or in the lion's den you would drop. The king signs a law that no one can ignore unless you want to hear the lions roar. Despite his fear of the lion's bite, Daniel chose God, which he knew was right. Give thanks and pray, 'cause help and guidance he sought. And one day poor old Daniel was called. The king was sad but had to follow his men, so he sent Daniel straight to the lion's den. That the Lord saved him to the king and his future was dim. The king signs a law that no one can ignore unless you want to hear the lions roar. The lion's roar was incredibly loud. He was very big, he was very proud. His teeth were sharp and his claws were long. But Daniel didn't fear, for his faith was strong. So into the lion's den poor Daniel was thrown. But while he was there, he was not alone. God sent an angel to shut the lion's jaw. Daniel gave thanks like never before. The king signed a law that no one can ignore unless you want to hear the lions roar. That no one can ignore unless you want to hear the lions roar.
Hello everyone, I'm glad to see you all today. I'm going to tell the story of Daniel and the lion's den. So you will have to listen to the story as I tell it. And listen to the part when Daniel is thrown into the den. And I'm going to say, and when the men threw Daniel into the lion's den, they had their mouths wide open, and Daniel landed right in the lion's mouth. Then...
No. That's not how it happened.
What do you mean? That's not how it happened. Daniel did pray to God, even when the king told him not to.
Well, yes, that did happen. But the part where you said one of the lions had its mouth open...
You mean to tell me that the lion didn't want to eat Daniel?
No, I can't say that, but we didn't.
What do you mean, we didn't? Were you there or something?
Yes. As a matter of fact, I was in the den that day, and you wouldn't believe what happened.
What happened?
Well, as you said, Daniel wouldn't worship the king's gods, and he continued to pray to his God 3 times a day. He certainly knew the punishment of being thrown to the lions if he was found out. I didn't think his God was real. Everything I ever heard about this God of Daniel's was always people making fun of him.
You sound like you have changed your mind about Daniel's God. Have you?
Yes, I have.
Why?
Because You know the part where you were telling us all about the lion's mouth being opened wide and getting to eat Daniel?
Yes.
As bad as we wanted to open our mouths and eat Daniel, we couldn't do it.
You mean you decided not to eat Daniel and be nice to him?
No, we really wanted to eat him. We had not been fed for days, so we were very hungry. But when we tried to open our mouths, we just couldn't. It was as if a great hand had reached down and was holding our mouths shut.
Like this?
Yes, just like that, but no one was there that I could see. This went on all night long.
So when were you able to open your mouth? You ate Daniel, right?
No, when we were able to open our mouths, Daniel was being taken out of the den by the king. Then we heard the king.
Wow, this God you serve must be the true God. Those lions hadn't been fed in weeks, so they should have eaten you up.
So I decided right there and then that this God of Daniel's had to have been the one holding our mouths shut.
Okay, that makes sense to me too. How about all of you? I'm sure glad you came today to set me straight on that story. So now we know what really happened. And we got it straight from the lion's mouth.
Oh, by the way, I am still very hungry. Can I eat?
No! You cannot eat anyone. But we will let you have a sweet.
Okay, that sounds good.
Is it us now, or have they got another one? Ooh. Nope, there might be another one. Give us
Jesus
Oh, well, that was amazing, wasn't it? Should we give them another clap as well? That was fantastic. No, I'm not sure about the flying sweets there. I thought I should have had a hard hat on. I don't know about you.
Did the story of Daniel speak to you at all, Melanie?
Oh, yeah, it was amazing, wasn't it? But to be honest, I'm a little bit confused because, Daniel was a man of God and he prayed and everything, but God still let him be thrown into the lion's den? Doesn't seem very fair to me.
What do you mean, Melanie?
Well, Daniel prayed, Daniel trusted God, Daniel was blessed by God, and he still suffered because of trusting God. Doesn't seem right to me. Does it seem right to you?
Yeah, but don't you think you're looking at the situation from a human point of view? God's ways and how God thinks is not the same as how we think, is it?
No, I suppose you're right, Sandra, but I'm still not very comfortable about it, if I'm honest. I think it still doesn't seem fair.
Yeah, but think about it carefully, Melanie. Do you think that God's own son, Jesus, think about it, he suffered mentally, he suffered physically, and he was crucified?
You're right, he was. He was.
God was with Daniel in the lion's den, but Melanie, how do we know that God was with Daniel in the lion's den?
Do you know what, I'm going to check it out, because it's always good when we're a bit confused to check things out in the Bible, and that's where the story's written. It's in Daniel chapter 6. And Daniel says himself, he gives us the answer. Don't know why I didn't see this sooner, Sandra. It says, my God sent his angel and shut the lions' mouths so that they would not hurt me. So we know God was there because the angel shut the lions' mouths.
So Daniel was challenged, and he was in a difficult situation in the lion's den, but God was with him.
He was, but I'm not sure that I'd be as brave as Daniel. It must have been really scary. I know we sing in the song and the puppet said that he was brave and he trusted God, but I think I'd still be really, really scared. Those lions must have been awfully hungry after all those days.
Yeah, you're right, Melanie. But why do you think that Daniel was able to stand up to all these challenges?
I guess he knew God, didn't he? He knew that God was his friend and God had never let him down, and he always kept in touch with God because he prayed. So maybe that was why.
Yeah, and we know that Daniel prayed 3 times a day, so that was a huge inspiration to him. And it speaks to us as well. You're right, Melanie. We each need to stay close to God 24/7, and we need to copy Daniel. And we need to be obedient. And that would be a good start for all of us, wouldn't it?
You're right. Well, I do try and pray to God every single morning while I have my breakfast. But maybe it'd be a good thing to pray more often in the day as well, wouldn't it? Every time that we're struggling, every time we need to have God's help, and when we just see something that we want to thank God for, it's good to pray, isn't it? That's what the story of Daniel teaches us. But, Sandra, when I looked in the Bible, I found out something else even more amazing, because there was some purpose in Daniel's suffering, When you get to the end of chapter 6, we found out the king, he was so amazed at what God had done that he issued a decree. That means he told everybody in his whole empire, and the Babylonian Empire was the Persian Empire by then, was so big, it covered loads and loads of lands. He said this: I've made a decree that in all my royal dominion, people should tremble and fear before the God of Daniel. For he is the living God, enduring forever. His kingdom shall never be destroyed. His dominion has no end. He delivers and rescues. He works signs and wonders in heaven and on the earth. For he has saved Daniel from the power of the lions. So because the king was so amazed at what God had done by closing the mouths of the lion, he told everybody that God is a God who saves. And he still saves today, doesn't he? That's why Jesus suffered too.
You're right, Madam.
So that we could be saved and so that we could know God forever.
So are you happier about the story of Daniel?
I'm much happier. Thanks for helping me understand it.
No problems at all.
Brilliant. That's the great thing about being a church family, isn't it? We can help each other to
right.
understand. And you know, we learn that we have got a great big God who can do wonderful things. And that's going to be our next song. See, Alon, we got the cue there. The next big song is Great Big God. The words are in the middle. That there are actions to the song. Now, you don't have to do the actions. If you're somebody who cringes at the thought of doing the actions, don't do them. Be comfortable. But if you do like doing the actions, then you can join in with me. Now, this is how the actions go. It goes like this. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God, and he holds us in his hands. He's higher than a skyscraper, and he's deeper than a submarine. He's wider than the universe and beyond my wildest dreams. And he's known me and he's loved me since before the world began. How wonderful to be a part of God's amazing plan. And we repeat it lots and lots. And at the end, we do the last line a few times. He holds us in his hands. He holds us in his hands. We get quieter. But then on the last one, we do it really loud. And he holds us in his hands. Okay, so that's the song. You'll catch on if you don't know it, because it's very simple. Let's stand, let's sing. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God, and he holds us in his hands. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God, and he holds us in his hands. He's higher than the submarine, and he's deeper than a submarine. He's wider than the universe, and beyond my wildest dreams. And he's known me, and he's loved me since before the world began. How wonderful to be a part of God's amazing plans. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God, and he holds us in his hands. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God, and he holds us in his hands. He's higher than a skyscraper, and he's deeper than a submarine. He's wider than the universe, and beyond my wildest dreams. And he's known me, and he's loved me since before the world began. How wonderful to be a part of God's amazing plan. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God, and he holds us in his hands. Holds us in his hands. And he holds us in his hands. Big now, and he holds us in his hands. Oh, well done. Give yourselves a round of applause.
Please sit. Just thinking about Daniel, can you just sort of collect your thoughts about what you've heard this morning about Daniel? Just sort of close your eyes and just reflect on what you've heard about Daniel, about the qualities in his life. Right, you can open your eyes and you can see on the shelf in front of you, you've got a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil on the corner of your shelf in front of you. So you've each got a pencil, a pen or a piece of paper. If you haven't, look behind you at the pew behind and find yourself a piece of paper, a pencil or a pen, please. No, piece of paper.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
There's one there, okay?
Have a pen. There you go. Oops. Can you put the pen up for me?
Perhaps you can share if you haven't got one each. Hopefully you've all got one each. Anybody not got one? Brilliant. Now, having got a piece of paper, a pen or a pencil, brilliant, thank you, great. What I want you to do is thinking about the figure of Daniel, thinking about that he was obedient, he prayed 3 times a day, he was full of goodness, he trusted God, thinking which of those is the most important to you, or what's the most important thing you've heard about Daniel this morning. Either put it in a few words or in a sentence on your piece of paper, please. Doesn't matter what you write down, it's personal to you as to what you understood about the story of Daniel. Don't worry what he's written down. You write something down, yeah? Having done that, having picked out something from this character of Daniel, I want you to close your eyes and just pray about it, that it would reflect in your character. It's something that you can aim at, being more prayerful, being more trusting, being more obedient to God. So just spend a few times praying about that, please. Having done that, we'll just pray together. Gweddiwn. Neville Dad, diolch y ti am fywyd Daniel. Am ein ffyddlondeb. Roedd bob amser yn barod I wrando ac I phethau. Helpa ni fel Daniel I siarad I ti yn ddyddiol ac I wrando a dy eiriau. Disg ni I fod yn ostynegedig at eraill. Arwain ni I fod yn oleuni mewn byd tywyll. Thank you, Lord, for the example of Daniel. Oh, that we would be more like him in his obedience and habit of prayer. That we, like Darius and like Daniel, would have a living relationship with God. That we would walk with him each day and talk to him, like Daniel, 3 times a day or even more. And let's say together the prayer that Jesus taught his disciples in our own language. Ein tad ne our Father, ein tad hwnwyt yn efoedd, sanctaiddio dy enw, dylid dy enos, megis yn y nedd, felly ar y ddeia hefyd, dero un heddiw ein bara bynyddion, a maddau ni yn dylydion, fel y feino yn unan dedwyr, ac na gawai ni brofedigaeth, eith ydwarag ni rhag drwg, canu seifio ti o denos a gallu a gofoniant yn oesoesoedd. Amen. So we turn in our hymn sheets to our last hymn, which is There is a Redeemer. There is a Redeemer, Jesus, God's own Son, precious Lamb of God, Messiah, Holy One. There is a Redeemer, Jesus, God's own Son, precious Lamb of God, Messiah, Holy One. Thank you, oh my Father, for giving us your Son and leaving your Spirit till the work on earth is done. Yea, waredu enw I chanef, anwy fabedu Messiah, a beth yn ein lle. Diolch o dadnefol am ddanfon cryn, a gadael dy ysbryd glân i'n harwain ni o hyd. Yna cafau weled, roedd fydd yn y a'i ddoli efn ffrenin yn y sanctaidd dde. Diolch o dadnefol am ddanfon cryn, a gadael dy ysbryd glân i'n harwain ni o hyd.
I'll do be seated. We are very nearly finished. I'm just going to say some notices and then we'll have our final prayer to finish. So first of all, a very big thank you to everybody who was involved with the summer fair yesterday. It was a really good day. We had lots of people coming through and we raised £1,431. So big round of applause for everybody who put that on and spent such a lot of hard work doing it, and for those who gave. So it was a wonderful occasion, a lot of hard work, but very well worth it. This afternoon, if you've not done enough singing this morning, which I'm sure we haven't, there's a Command Vagani at 2 o'clock, so you've just about got time to dash home, get your dinner and get back out again. You need to take a chair with you. Details are on your pew sheet as to where to go and how to find it, and that raises church funds for some other churches in our LMA, so do make use of that. It's the LMA vestry meeting tomorrow night in the church hall at 7 o'clock, so please, if you are on the electoral roll of the church, then do please come along to that. Do pray as well for that, our need for a treasurer, both for that and for our own church here at St Peter's. Some of you have been very kind and filled out a contact sheet for me so that I've got your details so I can contact you if I need to, if you need a visit, and also to go on my email list. And thank you for the positive comments I've had from some over the first email that I sent out on Friday. If you've not done your form to go on the contact list, there are forms at the back. do fill them out and post them into the shoebox there. If you've done a form and you didn't get an email on Friday, check your junk folder, because some of mine are going into the junk folder, but also 3 bounced. And I didn't bring my list to remember which 3 they were. Richard, yours was 1, but I can't remember the other 2. So come in and have a word afterwards if you think you should have had one and you didn't. If you've not done a form, then please do one, especially those with the children, because I can let you know what's happening with the children. We've got things planned for the summer, and hopefully we might plan some things in the autumn as well for the children and young people, so I can let you know directly about them then. So that's all of that. Any other notices I should be saying? Because I seem to have lost my notice sheet somewhere along the lines. What's that, Helen? Oh yeah, the lunch, it's come around again. So this Friday at 12 o'clock there is the hunger lunch, so do please come to that if you're around in the daytime. Anything else? No? Well, we're going to finish with a prayer. So the peace of God, which is beyond all understanding, guard your hearts in the knowledge and love of God and of his Son, Jesus Christ. And if Dyw holl alluog, y tad y mab a'r ysbryd glân, y fo yn eich plith, ac y drigau gyda hwy yn wastad. Amen.